I'm Shep Hyken, and here's what's up on this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. The Customer Experience Package. You need more than just good customer service to be amazing, and we'll show how 3 iconic brands are delivering the complete package. Where best friends are made. Former Chief Executive Bear, Maxine Clark, stops by to tell us how she founded one of the world's most recognized retail brands and also gives us some lessons on how to live an amazing life. From like to love, how do successful business leaders inspire emotional commitment from their employees and their customers? Well, Keith Alper joins us in studio with the answer. And the downside of success. What happens when you become so successful that customer service begins to suffer? We share some creative examples on how to overcome this problem. So, are you ready to be amazing? Well, stay tuned for all of this and more coming up next on Be Amazing or Go Home. Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and this is Be Amazing or Go Home, the show dedicated to take you from average to amazing. So what's the difference between customer service and the customer experience? Well, in order to be amazing, you can't have one without the other. Customer service is typically what transpires between people throughout the buying process or when there's a problem. That's just part of the customer experience, but there's much more to the customer experience than just service. It's the entire journey from the moment a customer thinks about doing business with you to any and every interaction point, whether it's in person, on a digital channel, or with the product. So here are a few examples from rockstar companies that you know and have likely done business with, thereby experiencing both their customer service and their customer experience. Number 1 is Amazon. Undoubtedly, one of the easiest companies in the world to do business with. This company delivers a customer experience that creates confidence at every level. They have transparency in pricing by actually informing you of other retailers that have lower prices. They give you confirmation of your order, your tracking information, and much more. When you need support, there are good self-service options. Amazon has a relentless focus on creating a great customer service, and they give you customer convenience. Number 2, Apple. They are masters at engaging their customers at almost every level. Some of their customers are so enthusiastic about the Apple experience that they're referred to as evangelists. People love their Apple products. They have great customer service. Their Genius Bar is, well, it's genius. I want to include them in this list not only because of their service, it's their focus on the entire experience that sets them apart. Just opening the box of an Apple product is an incredible customer experience. And number 3, Ace Hardware. This is one of America's most iconic brands. In recent years, they've gone head-to-head with big box stores. They come into towns, little towns, and build a huge store just down the street and sometimes directly next door to an Ace Hardware store. The big boxes have a greater selection, have lower prices, and often spend 30 times more in advertising dollars. So, how does Ace Hardware compete? Well, there's 2 ways. First, they deliver amazing service. Now, more than typical friendly service that's expected, they provide their brand of helpful service. That's actually their brand promise, the helpful hardware place. Then they add an experience that includes a smaller store that's easier to navigate inside, plus rockstar parking with smaller parking lots where everyone gets a good parking space. And there are knowledgeable employees who don't just answer questions about what the customer is buying, but who can advise about an entire project. Their customer service and experience has helped them survive and thrive in the David versus Goliath competition created by these big box stores. So you see, customer service and customer experience are related concepts, but they're not the same. It's the classic, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square scenario. Customer service is part of the customer experience, but the latter encompasses so much more, and you need both to succeed. Your product can be the best product in the world, and your customer service may be just satisfactory or even good, but without the complete package, sooner or later, you'll be overshadowed by a company like the ones we just talked about, whose entire customer experience is simply amazing. Maxine Clark is the founder of Build-A-Bear Workshop, but she is much more than just the former chief executive bear of one of the world's most recognized retail brands. She's lived a life that you might call amazing. And Maxine joins us right here in the studio. It is so great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So the last time we chatted for an interview, it was like we had a 30-minute show and we did a 60-minute interview. Well, we have such a short time, but let's jump right to it. Your background, where you grew up, Miami.
Right.
Your mom was a big influence.
Yes.
And your mom was the traveling assistant and
Traveling secretary for Eleanor Roosevelt.
That is a cool job.
It was a cool job. She wasn't my mom then. That was before she gave birth to our family. But
so you changed her life.
In a way, we did. But I think mostly what she taught me was that there are people that are differently abled than you, and they may have more abilities than you could even imagine. So don't exclude them. And so I lived a life, I was raised in a life of inclusiveness.
Yes, and that's obvious, and we're going to get to what some of your passions are in just a moment, but everybody knows you as the chief executive bear. There's a whole story. You went to Washington, D.C. to go to law school. You end up taking a retail job, and you had a great mentor there, Stanley Goodman, taught you a great lesson in retail. Let's start there, because that's an amazing thing. When you have mentors in your life, and they just do so much to
Mentors are everything, and sometimes they're just somebody who inspires you for a minute, and you then grab on to every word they say. You don't have to necessarily be present, but Stanley was one of those people. He came to a visit at the Heck Company in Washington and said, retailing is entertainment, and the store is a stage, and when the customer has fun, they spend more money. And that just like blew my mind.
Go. Tweet that out.
Yes.
That's your meme for the day.
It is, and it was long before people were talking about experience retailing, but that's what retailing was. It was you went to a store and people treated you like you were the most important person standing in front of them, and they would do anything they could to help you.
Wow, that's me. So from that store, you grew and you learned, and you tell us your retail background, the 20, 30-second version of that.
Yes, I moved up the ladder at the Heck Company. I was transferred here in St. Louis to the corporate headquarters of the Maid Company, where I got to work on lots of exciting projects. Became the senior vice president, executive vice president at Venture Stores, then went back to Famous Bar, then became the president of Payless Shoe Source right before I started Build-A-Bear. And I loved retailing. I love shoes. I said, you can never have too many shoes or too many teddy bears. Now teddy bears have shoes. But I found that there was that message that Stanley gave me about retailing being fun was getting less and less so. And I wanted to make it fun again. And that's really the way Build-A-Bear got started.
And Build-A-Bear is fun. All over the world. I'm over in Singapore. There's a Build-A-Bear. I'm in South Africa, Build-A-Bear. But I'll tell you what's interesting. I went and visited you once at your headquarters. And that's a culture that's, I think the Build-A-Bear experience goes into the headquarters. Let's talk about culture for just a moment.
Well, culture is important, and I didn't necessarily invent it myself, but everywhere that I was exposed as a child, where my dad worked, or in the Maid Company when I went to visit Hallmark or Estee Lauder, or some great companies that I worked with, I saw that they had something special. You felt it when you walked into the building. And I think it has a lot to do with the personality of the founder, of the people that work there, that run the company. And when I started Build-A-Bear, I did that as well. I wanted it to be a fun place to work. We were working with children. So we let our associates actually help us create the culture. One day, for instance, somebody brought their dog to work because their dog was sick.
That's what I know. You have dogs everywhere in that building.
Yeah. But the person brought their dog. They said, my dog's sick. I've got to take it to the vet at lunchtime. Do you mind if I bring it? And the next day, everybody brought their dog. And that just became part of our culture. But that was the way it was. It was employee-led, not just me-led. It was my heart was open to all those things, but I didn't have to invent them.
Yep. So you left Build-A-Bear, and I know even long before you left Build-A-Bear, you have a lot of passions in life. You and I worked together, Teach for America, I believe. You asked me to do some presentations, which, by the way, was very, very fulfilling. That's your passion.
Right.
Tell me what you're doing today.
Well, working on a lot of different things. I fortunately am on a lot of boards that do good community good here in St. Louis, Parents as Teachers and Beyond Housing. But I'm working on a large project to reimagine the old St. Luke's Hospital on Del Mar Boulevard into a 21st century place for caring called the Del Mar Divine, not the Del Mar Divide, but it'll be a Cortex-like place for nonprofits to have offices, a school to be there, other nonprofit experiential offices, as well as apartments 150 apartments for teachers, nurses, social workers, public health, public safety, those young people that make the lower salaries on the totem pole that want to live in a cool place. And boy, is this a cool part of town. It's
Wow.
right between WashU and the Central West End.
Yep.
A terrific location.
So, and for those that are watching the show from other parts of the world, Cortex is where like the incubators are. And by the way, St. Louis is becoming very, very well known
Right.
for bringing in startups, and there's a lot of money here, a lot of private equity, venture capital that's happening. All right, so that's one. Another passion. I know you have.
Well, I'm
so
very
I
passionate
see you
about
all over
education.
the world.
I'm
Education.
very passionate about
is huge.
education. So we just launched last week on our website in partnership with the United Way and the regional Education Coalition for Employment, Youth Employment, a website called Blueprint 4, number 4, Careers, where you can look for jobs in the middle skilled field, but not just find out about what those careers are. How much do they pay? What's the career ladder? How do you move up the ladder in those companies? And already we're getting a lot of connections from young people who said, I don't necessarily want to go to college, I want to do something else. What can I do? And there's 11 categories on there, 11 possible career paths you could go in automotive, in IT, in healthcare professions, many others as well.
Right. So education is super important, but now you're talking about saying some people don't want to go to college. That's kind of like,
Well, they aren't fit for college. It doesn't matter that some people are meant to go to college and go to be doctors and lawyers and dentists and all those things that are required by college, but there also are a lot of other really meaningful opportunities that support those careers,
Yep.
those healthcare careers. There's automotive, there's manufacturing. We have a rebirth of manufacturing in St. Louis. Who's going to work in those plants? You can't just be a worker on a machine. You're going to have to almost have an engineering background. And now those skills that are taught at Rankin, that are taught at the community college, that are taught in the certification programs, teach you the computer part of it as well as the hands-on part of it.
all right, so giving back is huge. We're not talking finances, we're talking of yourself, your time, your talent. We have just a moment. One idea on how anybody can get involved in anything that they're passionate about. Like, what's the first step to make that happen?
Pick up the telephone and call an organization that you think would be in the area that you like. We have 16,000 nonprofits in St. Louis. They're all
That's
hoping.
just in St. Louis.
That's just in St. Louis.
Think about that, 16,000. Imagine worldwide how many are there.
Way too many, more than we need, but they're all trying to do some good. And in St. Louis, we have some excellent ones. That's 16,000 in the county and the city of St. Louis. That's not even counting Belleville or the Jefferson
the surrounding
County.
metro area.
There's
Yeah.
tons, and there's some amazing ones, and they're looking for volunteers. They're looking for people to get engaged. It's not just about how much money you have to give, it's how much good you have to
Yep.
give.
So you've got money, but you got time and talent.
Right.
It's almost if not more so.
It's very valuable.
Important. All right. Well, thanks for being on here. Obviously, an amazing life. The amazing Maxine Clark.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Time now for the amazing app brought to you by First Rule. And this technology is made possible by communities working together to make things more convenient for everybody. Waze is the world's largest community-based traffic and navigation app that gets drivers the best route with real-time help from other drivers. Get alerted before you approach accidents, road hazards, or traffic jams, all shared by other drivers in real time. And with community-edited maps, you won't hit a dead end. Waze map editors are constantly improving and updating maps that reflect changes in your neighborhood, which improves routing for everyone. You can also navigate to the cheapest gas station on your route, all powered by community-shared gas prices. By working together to report prices at the pump, Waze drivers can always save a little extra money. Waze even has a carpool feature, creating another convenient way of saving time and money. You're in control of this process as carpoolers can choose riders and drivers based on profiles, star ratings, distance, and price to find the best match just for you. Waze Carpool offers free tools to kickstart a carpooling program at your company. Help coworkers connect, get to work faster, and find parking with less stress. Imagine millions of drivers out on the roads working together towards a common goal to outsmart traffic and get everyone the best route to work and back every single day. Nothing can beat real people working together to create a more convenient experience for everyone. Waze is truly an amazing app. How can you inspire an emotional commitment from your employees and your customers? Well, in his book, From Like to Love, Keith Alper talked to business leaders representing some of the most amazing global brands to find the answer. Keith is also a successful entrepreneur and founded many businesses and organizations. And here to talk about how to make those powerful emotional connections with your employees and your customers is the author himself, Keith Alper.
Hey, Shepster,
good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Man, I just love what you're doing. This is the book, From Like to Love. I love this book. I don't like the book. I love the book. And the truth is, I really do love the book because this is one of those books that are about culture. It's about what's happening in the inside of a company. And I believe that what's happening inside of an organization is felt on the outside by all of its customers. So let's start there and talk to us about, what made you come up with this concept. And, the word love, squishy, kind of touchy-feely.
Yeah, men weren't allowed to say love, and you weren't even allowed to say love in companies. It's like that's too squishy and stuff. I brought my kind of love heart here. It's like to show my prop. But the first idea actually happened at my company, another company we had, and one of our big clients called and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know your team did an unbelievable job. They killed it. They produced this great business meeting. We love CPG." And I started thinking, well, who uses the word love? Like, most people don't like their vendors when they said love.
We love our company.
We love.
You like to hear that.
Right? And so it's like, wow. And by the way, not everybody always loves you, right? That's what, And so it hit several times that people said, we love you. And then people would call or send an email and say, hey, we love this employee. They did such a great job. We love them. And you don't really hear that word a lot. And then we started asking our customers, but work we're doing in our own engagement work is what is the difference of, by the way, if someone works in your organization that doesn't like your organization, it's time that they leave or you leave them.
Yeah, the moment
so dislike, down here, they shouldn't be there. Here's like and here's love. And so here's the deal, and we can use this at every employee, every company. This is very interesting. I will ask somebody, how do you like working at company X? They're like, I really like it there. And you ask another employee, and they go, I love it there. And the difference between like to love is millions of dollars. This person stays late. So by the way, here's the business plan.
From the business, if you have a culture of employees that love you, the difference is millions.
The difference is million, and that employee is worth millions.
Yeah.
When I say that, I just say
it's metaphorical.
Some people would say if I call Cindy at your office, she says, I love working for Hyken. I love it, okay? And you have other people that you'll call and talk to them, or just go to the floor of a retail and they go, it's okay.
It's a job.
I like it here. And you talk to the manager, I love it. I started here, I love it. And so that's how we got inspired. And then we started going to our clients and said, talk to us a little bit about how you're trying to get to love, because it's not easy running a business, being an employee. It's not easy. In fact, I equate it to a marriage or a partnership. You're never in love all the time. You might have a squabble or whatever. So part of this is aspirational.
Yeah. So years ago, I love Zig Ziglar, the late great motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar. He told a story about how his friend was the president, CEO of a railroad. And one day he was in his limousine and he drove up to one of the railroad stations and he gets out of the car and there's an employee there, and the employee says, hey, Keith, how you doing, man? Good to see you. And the CEO comes over, it's great to see you. And they hugged, they shook hands and walked away. And one of the other coworkers said, wow, you know the CEO of the railroad company? And he says, yeah, we went to work the same time together. He goes, well, how come you're still out here in the yard and he's the CEO? And the guy said, and this is the story, of course, it's Zig Ziglar telling a story. Yeah. He said, well, when we started working together, he went to work for the railroad, I went to work for a paycheck. And that's the difference, I think, from like to love. It's, are you emotionally invested in the company?
Yeah, and so what we talk about in the book is the how-tos, and we also reflect on what we've done in a lot of our companies. Mm-hmm. So by the way, running a company isn't perfect. It's not easy. You have to work at it every day, and especially in today's current economy, employees can vote with their feet, and there is a talent war. In fact, talk to any restaurant owner in America right now, they can't find employees.
Right.
It's nearly impossible. So if they're just there for a paycheck, so the difference is in what you do in customer experience and what we do in culture, it's all about the experience. It's all about the culture.
So real quick, your top 2 or 3 best tips.
I'm going to give you my top 5, and I have to bring them because I like to put them in order.
All right.
So this is if you're the employee or this is you're in the employer. First of all, these are our mantras, our top 5. And I put it in the book, and you can go find this on the website. It's for free.
And by the way, where's the website?
From like to .love. from like to .love.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And we like that we have love instead of .com, right? We love that. So here's our things. First is you genuinely, so this is me talking to, you genuinely care about me. So does your employer really care about you? Many don't.
Right.
I trust you and you trust me.
That's number 2.
Okay. You listen to me.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
I heard it.
To me? Okay, good. You appreciate me for who I am and you tell me so. You tell me so. Okay? Shep, I appreciate you for who you are because you're doing great work. You rose above the occasion. Something happened. I really appreciate you. We don't tell people that enough. And the last is we share a meaningful purpose. I'm not here for a paycheck. We're here at our company to do a bigger thing. How do we help the community? How do we help people? And then we go through the tenets of those and how to, because everybody thinks, oh, if we serve free pizza and soda, then people are going to love us. That's not.
No. It's so much more than that. You know what? It's not, the employee not only has to like who they work for, the company, they have to like who they work with, their boss, their manager, and the coworkers. And when you can make that happen, I mean, that's just, it's $1 million formula.
Yeah, and sometimes it's $1 billion formula. So if you follow all the companies that have the best cultures, their returns are unbelievable. I'll do a little plug for one of my favorite and biggest clients, Southwest Airlines. We work on some culture stuff.
A lot of love there.
Yeah, a lot of love. And by the way, just as this reality, most of their employees are union employees, union and management, but you don't know that when you get on a plane. And they love their jobs. In fact, they only recruit people that love their jobs. And it's not always easy. So I bring that up because they're in the book and they talk about what's it like to get to love.
Yep, awesome. Well, this is Keith Alper. The book is called From Like to Love. Call today, don't delay. Go to your favorite bookstore. Go to Amazon.com. Get it now while they're hot. Keith, great to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot,
Loved having you on the show.
Thank you.
And
Love you, buddy.
I truly appreciate for you for who you are.
Oh, thank you.
And the great work you've done.
And I love you.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Keith. Well, it's time to hear from you and time to ask Shep. You can find me anywhere on the web, including these social channels. So use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your questions or share your amazing stories. So let's begin. Maria Freeman owns a line of boutiques across the nation, and she asks, what can employers do to empower employees and help them find simple solutions to everyday customer experience problems? Well, I love this question. Don't you love doing business with someone you feel is in charge? How do these companies do it? Well, they start by hiring good people that have good judgment and reason. And then they train them, equipping them with knowledge about the products and services that the company sells. And from there, they let them do their job. Let them exercise good judgment. Good managers will also be good coaches and show their empowered employees how far they can go to take care of their customers. Now let's hear from David Sutherland, who just opened a coffee shop downtown in a bustling major city. And here's his question. How can a small business find a big purpose that connects with local consumers? Well, one of the competitive strategies a small local company can execute is the strategy of giving back, especially if it's to a local charity organization, even a school. This endears the business to the community. I have a client that chose to use most of his company's traditional advertising dollars to sponsor youth sports teams, local school dances, and church events. They became part of the community, and everybody loved him and his company. Finally, Tracy Walsh is an executive with an accounting firm and travels most of the year, and here's her question. You talk about a concept called Amaze It Forward. What does that mean, and how can I put that concept into action? Well, my friend Dave Simon came up with this idea after reading one of my books titled, are you ready for this? Be Amazing or Go Home. Imagine that. Well, one day he was picking up his cleaning, and from there he was going next door to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. And before he left, he asked the owner of the cleaners if he wanted a cup. The man was stunned. Dave's idea was to do something nice for the people who gave him great service. This wasn't a monetary tip, but a kind gesture that showed appreciation. So the next time someone you're doing business with does something nice to you, like giving you great service, do something nice for them and suggest they do the same for someone else. That's called amazing it forward. So, are you ready to be amazing? Remember, you can find me just about anywhere on social media. So, connect with us on our social channels, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your question or share your amazing story. Time now for the amazing quote brought to you by First Rule, and it comes from Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Yogi Berra. Nobody goes in there anymore. It's too crowded. Now, Yogi has some great quotes, but this one we can relate to the customer experience. Have you ever been too busy? It sounds like a great problem to have until it creates a problem for your customers. Recently, I was driving by a Chick-fil-A restaurant at lunchtime. I was blown away by how many people were in the drive-thru lane. There had to be at least 20 or more cars there. I thought to myself, well, that's a long line. You really have to love Chick-fil-A to brave that line at lunchtime. And then I noticed they had 4 people on the lot taking orders from the people who were in the drive-thru. They eliminated the problem. The cars were moving through the lane at a pretty good pace. Actually, they were moving faster than the traffic that I was sitting in on the main street. Brilliant thinking. Just because you're in the drive-thru lane doesn't mean you have to wait to get to the front of the line to place the order. Another example of this is when Home Depot came to my hometown in the St. Louis, Missouri area. The parking lots were jammed and the lines were long, so long that it prompted a local news station to come out and report on just how long those lines were. Well, a smart manager realized he had to change this problematic reputation. So Home Depot started advertising that the lines would never be longer than 5 minutes. Any customer who had to wait in line longer than that would receive a discount. Problem solved, bad reputation averted. When your success causes your customers frustration because you're too busy to take care of them, you're at risk of losing your best customers. How often will people wait in a long line for a meal before deciding it's just not worth the time? How long will customers wait on hold for a customer service rep before switching to another brand? If you're so successful that you cause your customers the inconvenience of having to wait, you may be casting doubt in your customers' minds about the next experience that they're going to have with you. That's when it's time to get creative and find ways to create confidence, not frustration. Well, that wraps up this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. And remember, you can find me just about anywhere on social media, so be sure to connect with us on our social channels, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep to ask me your questions. Thanks for tuning in. This is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.